So when a student submits a request for their official transcript, but they don't want the transcript to be processed until after their grades have been posted for a specific term, the order gets moved into Banner, but then gets updated to a status of AG. Now, these orders, you never need to look at these because they're going to just naturally release themselves when certain things happen in Banner that you're already doing or your registrar's already doing. I just want to show you that when the student is submitting the request, they can choose after grades are posted. And if the student chooses after grades are posted on the official transcript request, it will only show them the terms in which they actually have courses in progress. And this is to ensure that a person doesn't submit a request for after grades are posted in which they don't have any grades that are waiting to be posted. So when the student is submitting the request, if they choose after grades are posted, and note, they can only choose after grades are posted if they have active terms. You will see if you ever go try to do an official transcript request using the link, if you don't have any in progress terms, this option is not even going to be available to you. So if they have that option, they choose after grades are posted, and then they have to choose the term in which they want grades to be posted. So if I choose fall 2015, that means I don't want my official transcript request to be processed until after my grades for fall 2015 have been entered into Banner and actually rolled to academic history. Because remember, having an instructor enter it where it can be viewed on SFAALST or any of the grade forms in Banner doesn't mean it's been rolled to academic history. It has to be rolled to Shop Chicken in order for the request to be released. And there's actually two things that need to happen. And I kind of jumped the gun already talking about academic history, but I'll talk about it again on this particular slide because a lot of times people get confused with these orders and they're like, well, the orders haven't released. Why haven't my AG orders released? Well, two things have to happen in order for your AG orders to be released. So remember, a student can't request an official transcript to wait for grades if they don't have in-progress courses. So that would not be the problem. They can only select it if they have in-progress courses, and they can only select a term in which they have in-progress courses. That's the beauty of this link. It's actually talking to Banner while the student's submitting the request. So it's eliminating issues before they can even happen. So the first thing you need to remember, and this is so important because I find this is where most people make the mistake. There's a release date that has to be entered on SHRTETC for term student chose for release for grades. Now, the AG request will attempt to process the day after the date entered in the release date field. So a lot of times the college end user will go and they'll put a release date, but they don't put a realistic release date. Like say you plan on rolling your grades at the end of a spring term on May 5th, but you put your release date as May 31st. Well, that means any of your AG orders will not release until June 1st. Because it releases the day after the date you entered in there. Remember, I said the end user sets the rule, and I'm going to show you that in a second. And if no rule was created for the transcript request term, then the end date on STV term will be used as a release date. And anybody in the registrar's office that does the National Student Clearinghouse report knows that we change the dates on STV term 13 times every single month. So that is not a good option. You should never not put the date. And if you do, then you don't know what the end date is because it just randomly depends on what day that person submits the request. So let me just show you SHRTETC real quick. So when you access SHRTETC, you'll have multiple tabs. The tab that you're looking for is Hold for Degrees or Grades. So when you click on that tab, it's going to show you all your rules. So you'll see right here in this column where it says Hold for Grades, that's where a person has inserted a rule. They said for my 2018-10 grades, I want them to release on December the 20th. So really what they said was, I want them to release on December 21st because they will not release until the day after the date that was entered in the release date. So when you do this, you would just come to this form, select Insert Record, and then you would put the term that you want to release the grades, and then you would put the date you want to release it. Now remember, the day before is the date you should enter, because once again, it releases the day after this date. Now, if you forget to put your rule, that's when it pulls the date off of STV term. And remember, the STV terms are managed by the specialist. They're changed very frequently to meet the needs of a report that has to be run. So if you don't set a date, you don't know what the release date is. Now, you can view the release date. You'd have to access the cloud because you have to realize when the order comes in, the release date off of this form is automatically attached to that record. So it's attached to the record or the request as soon as it comes in. So you can't come and change this release date later or put it in later because it's attached as soon as the request comes in. So it's very important that before you start registration for any term that you come and you put your Hold for Grades rule on SHRTETC on the Hold for Degree or Grades tab. If you don't, then you're going to have issues at the end of the term. You're going to have orders that aren't releasing and you're going to wonder why, and it's probably because of your rule. Most of the time when I get tickets asking about this is because this college forgot to put a rule to release it, or they put the date too far in the future, so they're not releasing. And remember, it attaches to the record request as it comes in. So you can't come into this form later and change the release date. That doesn't help because when the order came in, that's when the release date was attached to it. The second thing that needs to happen is that all of the students' grades have to be rolled to academic history. It will not release. If one grade hasn't been rolled for the term in which the requester selected, it will not release the transcript because the student said, I don't want you to release it until all of my grades have been awarded for this term. So the system is looking for all of those grades to be rolled. So, and earlier I mentioned a form. Let me just go to that real quick to show you. And I'm not actually going to pull up any data, but this is one of the grade forms in Banner. So the minute an instructor enters a term or enters the grades, you can see it on this form. But it will not roll to chicken until your registrar runs the roll batch process, or you select the icon here, you enter the term, the CRIN, select the icon, perform a next block and save, then the grades will be rolled. So there's two options for rolling grades. Most colleges use the batch process, which that's the best and quickest way to do it. So two things that must happen in order for AG orders to start moving again and process without end-user intervention is that you have to have that release date as a correct date, and it has to be in the past. You have to have it entered before you start pre-registration for that term to ensure the actual release date you want entered has been attached. And then the next thing is all of the grades for that term have to be rolled. Now, I mentioned to you that when an order comes through and the student says, okay, I want to wait for grades, that the minute that order comes into Banner, that the release date is attached. You can't see the release date in Banner, but you can see it in the Banner cloud. Now, someone at your college has the credentials to access the Banner cloud. If not, and you're the person who needs access, you just need to reach out to the specialist using a service request because she has the credentials for all of the colleges. But I wanted to show you that when you log into the cloud, it shows you all of your orders. These are all the orders that haven't been processed yet. You'll see that there's HRs, and we're not talking about HRs, but it'll just be all the ones that are still waiting on something to happen for them to be processed. Now, I'm just going to type in AG because I want to pull up all orders that are at AG status. I want to show you where the release date is actually attached. So I'm in the cloud. I could search by the order ID. Let's say you have an order in Banner and you're like, it's at AG status. It's not getting released. What's wrong? You can come in here and you can see what the release date is and make sure that it's a date in the past. And then you would check and see if all the students' grades have been rolled, or vice versa. You may check to see if all the grades have been rolled first before you try to access the cloud to see if the release date is correct. So once you find your order, either by the order ID or AG, because I could have typed the order ID in here and bring up that exact order, you click on that order ID and it's going to show you the specifics of it. Then you have to look down and you will see the delay date. So the delay date is actually your release date. So you'll see that this particular order will not release until December 12th, 2018. So it will not release until the day after the delay date. Now, let's say you made a mistake. You forgot to add the release date. So you have requests that are stuck at AG status. They're not moving because the release date is wrong. You can update those, but you have to do it one request at a time. What you would do is when you access the order, I'm not going to do this because I am in a production environment, but when you would access the order in the cloud, you would find the order just like we did. You would go to show orders. You could type in the order ID or you could query by AG, and then you would click on order ID. And then at the bottom, you see where it says edit delay date. You would click on that. And when you would click on that, a box would appear and it would allow you to enter in a new delay date. However, this is the problem. It won't let you enter in today. So if I access it today and try to enter in the date today, it won't allow me to do that. It only allows me to put a date in the future. So I would have to put tomorrow's date. And that means that it wouldn't release for 2 more days because it doesn't release until the day after the delay date. So I'm showing you all this to say it is so important that the person responsible for building your rule on SHRTETC for waiting for grades to be released, it's so important that they do not forget to do that before you start registration for the term, and that you put a realistic release date, a release date in which you really want those orders to be released. And remember, it releases the day after the release date. So if you plan on rolling grades or grades are due for a spring term on May 5th, then I would suggest you put your release date as May 5th. Or May 6th in case you have problems with instructors submitting grades late. But do not put it at May 31st because that means those orders will not release until June 1st, the day after the release date. So once again, 2 things have to happen for the AG orders to automatically just pick up and start processing. The release date has to be in the past, and all grades for the term in which the student has selected has to be rolled to academic history on ShotChicken.